So why don't we start off with that iconic bass line. So the very first thing I did here was recreated this bass line here, and this is from Synthwave Essentials Volume 4 called Saw Power. Now I'm going to open another instance of Serum here, and I'm going to show you how different it actually is, and so then we can compare a little bit. So you can hear just by that, they're a little bit different, and there are some important elements that make that difference. So as you can see here, one important element here is this envelope here. So you can see here that the envelope 2 is opening it up, and it essentially holds it at about halfway here, whereas this envelope here is just purely a pluck. You can also see here by the oscillators that there's quite a bit of difference in voices of unison, and that's really important because in the original track itself, the bass line is absolutely huge. It sounds huge, and we needed more voices of unison. The other thing is here, we can check out some of these effects. As you can see here, I kept the same hard clip here. Didn't really change too much there. As far as the chorus goes, I put this in because, again, we wanted more width and kind of a bigger sound. None in the original, and then I have a little bit more compression, and I have reverb. Now, reverb is one of those things for, and I have actually a low filter, again, covering up some of those very, very highs. But back to the reverb. Reverb is one of those things we don't really think of as a bass element, but it's very clearly there in the original track. I can't unfortunately play that track. I don't want to get into too many copyright issues, anything like that. But if you listen to the track kind of side by side with this will really help you out. The reverb is definitely there. I cut out some of those lows just to make sure it's not too boomy or anything like that. And it's not too high in the mix. So let's just hear this pattern itself. You can also hear there's some white noise there. And before I forget, we're actually in 100 BPM here, and we're going to take a look at the pattern. You could see it's in G sharp here or A flat. So it'd be in A flat minor, I believe. If we just quickly take a look at the chords here, you can see this is indeed in a minor chord here. Minor, major, minor, major. But back to the bass line, is a very kind of like iconic big bass line, and it's created by those elements that we just talked about. Now there's some detuned elements. As you can see here as well, I have this saw. This is kind of the driving force because this is an octave higher than this one. Now, if we were to play both of these side by side, you can hear it's really the driving force. And then this adds a lot of detunement and that low power. Same with the sub bass here. Just a brilliant bass line. I really love it. Something you really take for granted in Synthwave are those bass lines. We think of them, you know, that kind of plucky driving bass line, but there are a lot of ways to make them unique, and this is probably one of those really great examples where some maneuvering around with some effects and some basic oscillators, and you could get a great iconic bass line.